Australia is a land of extremes. During the day, its stunning beaches and natural landscapes attract attention. But when night falls, it's as if the country transforms into an endless playground where the fun never slows down. No matter where you are, whether in Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane, the nightlife here knows no limits. In Australia, night is synonymous with intense parties, spontaneous encounters, and a sense of freedom that only those who have lived it can describe. And the best part? There's no regret, just pleasure. The Australian energy is unique. There's no space for inhibition or fear of living the moment. On the streets, beaches, in bars and clubs, the atmosphere is always vibrant and full of possibilities. The night isn't just a break from routine, but an opportunity to reinvent yourself, to get lost, and perhaps to find someone or someone who changes everything. Get ready, because Australia is much more than you imagine. When the sun sets, the game begins, and no one stays on the sidelines. Sydney, the city that never sleeps. And this is not just an expression, it's a reality. With its iconic beaches like Bondi and Manly, the city offers one of the most stunning backdrops for nightlife on the planet. But what really puts Sydney at the top when it comes to partying is the unique combination of the laid-back beach vibe and the luxury of exclusive clubs in the city center. Here, you can start the night with a drink on the sand and end it on a breathtaking rooftop overlooking the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. In Sydney, the party goes from surfers and alternative youth to celebrities and executives, all sharing the same city but with different ways of living the night. The beaches are the starting point, where flirting is light, conversations are relaxed, and desire is lived without haste. But when the sun sets, the luxury clubs take over. Places like the Baxter Inn or Marquee offer a blend of elegance, electronic music, and contagious energy that transforms Sydney into an endless party. The night doesn't stop, and the behavior becomes increasingly free, with people giving themselves to the moment and the pleasure. But the real magic of Sydney happens when you mix the best of both worlds, the relaxed beach vibes and the sophistication of luxury clubs. This is where interactions become even more intense. Flirting starts with a casual conversation about the sea and ends in a deeper or quicker connection to the beat of electronic music. And the best part? There's no room for regret. The city has a unique way of turning even the simplest encounter into something memorable. Sydney's energy is contagious. No matter who you are or where you come from, everyone surrenders to the night in the same way, without reservations. In Sydney, the night is to be lived intensely, whether at the beach or in a luxury club. And in the end, the feeling is always the same: pleasure, freedom, and a vibe that only Australia can offer. No strings attached, no limitations, just the promise of an unforgettable night. Melbourne is the perfect antidote for those seeking something beyond Sydney's glamour. Known as Australia's alternative capital, Melbourne brings a creative and carefree energy to its nightlife. Here, the party isn't just about dancing to international DJs. It starts in art galleries, underground parties, and secret clubs, where music and freedom blend with the irreverence that defines the city. The people in Melbourne aren't afraid to be who they are, and that authenticity creates a unique atmosphere you won't find anywhere else. If you enjoy exploring secret parties, hidden clubs, and spaces that feel more like works of art than simple bars, Melbourne is the place for you. With a vibrant art scene, the city takes pride in its unconventional parties, where rules are made to be broken. It's not uncommon for people to find themselves in unexpected places, like an art gallery turned dance floor or a cafe transforming into a lively bar at night. Every corner of Melbourne offers a new surprise, and the nights here are never the same as the last. The behavior at Melbourne's parties is a reflection of the city: relaxed, unhurried, and always seeking the pleasure of the moment. Casual flirting is constant, but what stands out is the freedom to be who you are without fear of judgment. On the streets, people feel comfortable showing their true essence. Diversity and inclusion are celebrated, and the energy at the parties reflects that. Casual sex and quick encounters here are lived with the same ease and relaxation that characterizes the whole city. Melbourne is for those who want more than an ordinary night. The nightlife here doesn't follow a predictable script. It's full of surprises, art, fun, and, of course, spontaneous moments of pleasure. The freedom to explore one's desires is one of the things that makes Melbourne's nightlife so special. And as the night goes on, the feeling of participating in something unique and unforgettable only increases. The city lets you get lost, but deep down, it finds you in a way you never imagined. On the streets of Australia, the nightlife is much more than what happens inside bars and clubs. It spills over into the public space. In cities like Sydney and Melbourne, the streets become the perfect stage for casual flirting and spontaneous encounters. The behavior here is relaxed, and sexual freedom is embraced without fear or guilt. Glances meet easily, and people connect naturally, as if the city were a huge playground where social rules are set aside. Flirting here requires nothing more than a smile and shared energy. What makes Australian nightlife even more fascinating is how free and uncomplicated sexuality is. On the streets, you'll see people talking, touching, exchanging intense glances, all without hurry and without that sense of judgment that exists in many other places. Flirting isn't forced. It arises from the moment, from the laid-back atmosphere, and the possibilities are endless. Whether in cafes, busy streets, or quieter squares, the feeling is the same, the freedom to express oneself without restrictions. There are no taboos, only the desire to enjoy the moment. Walking through the Australian streets at night, the energy is palpable. It's not uncommon to see groups forming, interactions starting almost organically, where bodies come close without hesitation and desires become visible with ease. What really stands out here is the absence of shame. People are not afraid to approach, to show interest, to flirt without strings attached. And this creates an environment where encounters happen with an intensity not easily found elsewhere in the world. Sexual freedom is not just an attitude, but a real and visible behavior in the streets. What's most interesting is how this freedom on the streets reflects the overall vibe of Australia: light, open, and pressure-free. The behavior in the streets isn't just about casual sex, but about accepting desire as something natural, something that can happen whenever and wherever it arises. And this creates a sense of empowerment and shared pleasure. The city becomes a place where everyone can express themselves without fear of judgment, whether in flirting, casual sex, or the freedom to be who they truly are. And when night falls, the streets across Australia become an open invitation to live the moment. Australian women are the true definition of empowerment in the nightlife. In cities like Sydney and Melbourne, they dominate the scene with a confidence that's impossible to ignore. From the moment they enter a bar, they radiate an energy that blends power, freedom, and, of course, a captivating self-sufficiency. Here, being a woman isn't a burden, it's an advantage. They know what they want and aren't afraid to go after it. Their attitude is pure, without adornment or insecurities. It's authentic confidence that comes from experience and the freedom with which they live their sexuality. The behavior of women in the Australian nightlife is unreserved. They surrender to the moment with a naturalness that makes any shame or shyness disappear. In Melbourne, for example, women can be found at alternative parties where the behavior is laid back and desire is not suppressed. They're there to have fun, to explore, and, if a connection arises, to live the moment without hesitation. There's no judgment or expectation of commitment. Pleasure is lived as a right, a natural expression of who they are. And the best part? They feel safe being exactly who they are. The self-confidence of Australian women goes beyond their appearance. Of course, they have a unique style that makes an impact, but it's their attitude that truly stands out. At any party, club, or even on the streets, they're there, not waiting for the world to fit their expectations, but creating the environment they want to live in. Sexual freedom is something they embrace with courage. The simple fact of walking down a street in Melbourne or Sydney knowing they can be the center of attention without it meaning anything more than the pleasure of living the night is one of the characteristics that defines the Australian woman in nightlife. And perhaps the greatest quality of Australian women is their ability to flirt with intensity without losing their lightness. They're not there to impress or fit into standards. They're authentic. And that authenticity is reflected in every gesture, every glance, every movement. In Australian nightlife, they don't expect desire to be complicated. On the contrary, sexuality here is uncomplicated, vibrant, and full of attitude. For them, the night is a blank canvas, and every interaction is an opportunity to connect, explore, and perhaps get lost in a night of guilt-free pleasure. Casual sex in Australia is as natural as the waves crashing on Bondi Beach. There's no moral weight or shame that often accompanies such experiences in other parts of the world. Here, desire is seen as something completely natural, something to be explored with total freedom, without the weight of judgment or commitment. People give themselves to pleasure without pretension, without the idea that everything needs to be romanticized. Australia has a unique approach. Casual sex is simply a form of connection, an act of pleasure that is accepted and lived with ease. In Sydney, Melbourne, or any other major Australian city, the night is never limited to just drinks and music. Casual sex, in reality, is a natural extension of the nightlife interactions. There's no rush, no pressure, just mutual attraction that unfolds spontaneously. At parties and clubs, bodies draw closer, glances meet, and often what starts with a simple flirtation ends with an intense physical connection, without the weight of future expectations. Immediate pleasure is the only goal. The simplicity of casual sex is one of the characteristics that make Australian nightlife so irresistible. Most Australians approach casual sex with an unsettling confidence. There's no feeling of wrongness or regret afterward. On the contrary, casual sex in Australia is treated with an unusual lightness. It's an experience lived in the present, with an unspoken understanding that there's no need for justification. Whether on the streets, in clubs, or even on deserted beaches, encounters happen naturally and without haste. And the best part? There's no guilt. What happens on the night in Sydney, Melbourne, or any other city remains just a fun experience with no consequences. This acceptance and pleasure in casual sex are part of a broader culture of sexual freedom in Australia. The country has an open and positive approach to pleasure and the exploration of individual desires. In a society where people are encouraged to be who they truly are, casual sex becomes an expression of personal freedom. It's not about seeking something deeper or immediate commitment, but rather about enjoying the moment. And at the end of the night, everyone leaves without remorse, knowing that they experienced pleasure in a pure and uncomplicated way. When the intense night finally comes to an end, Australia offers a leisurely breather. Unlike many cities where the following day is marked by remorse and regret, here in Sydney, Melbourne, and other cities, the hangover is just an extension of the pleasure lived the night before. The streets begin to wake slowly, the sun rises, and instead of feeling shame or regret, what predominates is a calm and relaxed feeling. What happened during the night is celebrated, not hidden. The alcohol, music, and intense interactions of the night turn into a lazy smile and soft energy. There's no rush to forget. On the contrary, there's an acceptance of what was lived and the pleasure of knowing that more moments of fun are ahead. In the streets of Sydney, people walk slowly, with cafes filled with conversations about the previous night, without the weight of shame. Here, the hangover is seen as part of the process, a natural consequence of a well-lived night. In Melbourne, the laid-back vibe also reflects the way the following day is handled. There's no stigma of pushing away the more intense moments of the night. Instead, people relive their experiences with laughter and lightness. The energy of the hangover is almost a celebration. Deep down, everyone knows they lived a night of pleasure without restraints, and now it's time to relax and enjoy the rest of the vibe without haste to return to the routine. What makes the hangover in Australia so different is the relaxed attitude with which people approach the consequences of an intense night. No looking back with regret or guilt. Instead, the focus is on enjoying the moment and moving forward. It's normal to see groups of friends gathering for brunch, discussing the adventures of the night before with carefree laughter. There's no pressure to be productive or quick. It's a hangover with soul, where the focus is on relaxing and preparing for what the next night might bring. The beaches, parks, and outdoor cafes become the perfect setting for this well-deserved rest, with no rush or demands. What really sets the Australian hangover apart is the way people allow themselves to live without external pressures. There's no expectation that the following day will be a time for recovery, but rather to continue living at the pace of the previous night, with lightness and fun. Even after hours of partying, casual sex, or quick encounters, Australians have a unique ability to live in the present. And this is reflected in how they handle the post-night. The hangover is a chance to reminisce, laugh at the stories that came up, and simply surrender to the relaxing rhythm of Australian life. It doesn't matter what happened the night before. What matters is that the moment was lived fully, without fear of how it will be remembered.